Alright guys, welcome to a video that I have not made before, which is a commentary of one of my Marine Corps experiences, which is what I do on this channel. Talk about those over some gameplay. So finally you have something to look at instead of my stupid face. Yeah, I just got done with Taco Bell, so if I'm burping, I'm sorry. Alright, let's just jump into it. So this video is going to be about a time that I was in a 2-week field op in Camp Pendleton. So if you guys are new to this channel, background, I'm a Marine Rifleman veteran, so I just got out a year ago. And this video, like the basis around it, takes part 2016, like August or something. Beautiful weather in Camp Pendleton. I'm from 29 Palms, which is, it looks a lot like what you're looking at right now. It's a whole lot of desert. It's in the Mojave Desert, and it's super hot. So Camp Pendleton, nice change of scene. It's right on the beach. It's a Marine Corps base. It's probably the best base, yeah. even including Hawaii. This is probably the best base in the Marine Corps, Camp Pendleton. Yeah. So we were over there for 2 weeks, but we were in the bad part of it. So we were next to the beach. Well, I mean, parts of it we were, I suppose, but this part of it, which was the training for the Infantry Immersion trainer. So, yeah, that's like in the middle of the desert, sort of. Not in the desert, but it's a sandy part of Camp Pendleton. That's not on the beach. I described that so bad, but yeah, Infantry Immersion trainer, what that is. So the last week of this field op, so we already got through a week. We're already tired and stuff. We go to this facility, all right? So there's just a city in the middle of nowhere, just kind of like a kilometer around it, which is just kind of nothing. It's this multi-million-dollar facility, which they ship out a bunch of people who act like civilians, and they walk around that city, that facility, and pretend to be Iraqi civilians. Now that city, it's meant to look like Iraq, so we had artists go over there and make it. Obviously not Marine Corps artists, like straight up artists go over there and make the facility look like Iraq. We had some people who are already in Iraq come over there and make it smell like it, like literally meant to smell like it. It smells like shit, I'll be honest. And yeah, and then they just kind of have civilians pretend to be Iraqis. So it's supposed to immerse us in that sort of scenarios, in those scenarios. So I'll put you through the day where one of our days there. Like I'll take you through one of the scenarios. So we woke up at like 5 a.m. I ate an MRE, took a shit in the porta-john because it's better than taking a shit in the woods. And yeah, and then we all got our gear ready. We had a platoon of Marines. It was my platoon. We were up to go and clear out the city. So it's not really clearing out. There's different types of patrols. There's like 3 different types: combat, recon, and ooh, I forget the last one. Give me a break, guys. I've been out for a year. But yeah, this one was just a recon patrol. We were just supposed to go in the city, see how people act, create a baseline so that we can attest to any anomalies that happen in the future. So just kind of see how the locals react and what the market is like. So if it's empty, we know there's an ID or whatever it is. And yeah, so we started patrolling there in a column. It was a long patrol. It was about a kilometer to it, like I said. And during the patrol, right when we're about to go into the gates of the city, we're probably 200 meters away. Like we're getting there. We were gonna walk through the gates and just kind of patrol around. I see a tire with some bags inside it, some sandbags. I was like, okay, that's sketchy as fuck. Like that looks like an ID. So I put up the hand and arm signal for an ID. And that was like next to the gate entrance too. And they all react to it. Everybody. So basically, how you react to an ID is you don't want to make it obvious that you're getting away from the ID or that you see it. A lot of times, like if you're in a recon patrol, you're loud and proud. Like you're just kind of talking and like you don't expect any enemies, so you can just kind of talk. So we were talking and whatever. Oh yeah, one of the things was I love to have a cold beer. So whenever we said beer, that meant like we just kind of shout that and just talk to each other during the patrol on a recon patrol and be like, "Oh man, I can't wait for a cold beer," and then everybody would know. Okay, he sees an ID, and then they would call out, "How many beers do you want, man?" And we'd say like 200, and that means 200 meters away. We'd be like, "Man, I'm gonna drink 200 beers when I'm back home." And then everybody's like, oh shit, okay. So it's 200 meters away. We're all good for now. So let's take it easy. And then they're gonna, and we kind of just act like the beer is the IED, and we kind of slip in some wordage in there. So if anybody's hearing us, like anybody in the city, or if anybody's watching us, they won't suspect that we see the IED. So we ended up making a circle around the IED. Basically, we were getting away from it, and making sure that they don't blow it up in our faces when we try and run away from it, right? So ended up not being an IED. We had one of our instructors called out. He was like, "All right, that's not an IED. Good call though. That was a good call. It looks like an IED, but for this scenario, it's not an IED." So we just continue on our patrol and pretend that we didn't see that. So we went breached the not breached, but we went into the gate. All right. And we're instantly greeted by a bunch of civilians that are just over there. They're all Filipino too, so like they speak a different language, and we can learn some of their wordage, which is like "Como esta," which is I want to say "How are you" or "Hello" or something like that. I remember learning that, and we learned some of their words so that we can act like we're in Iraq, right? Like we try and greet them. So we're in the town. We're going past the market. We see all this, and it's all good. Like everything's dandy. We create a baseline. We talk to some people. We find out they need some MREs. We find out they need like certain stuff like medical supplies. Um, we see some kids, so we play around with them, and there's all these different things. Um, and then the next okay, well, I'll finish this one. So yeah, we get done talking to them and everything, and we find some people who are kind of watching us, and they're off in the distance, just kind of observing, looking sketchy as fuck. And yeah, so that, and that was the end of the patrol. We walked out the same gate, and we went on our way. So the next thing, if you guys are curious, like I think this is interesting stuff. Like when you go into a city, you don't want to come the same way each time, because now those sketchy people who might be planning IEDs, they're gonna go on the gate. They're gonna put the IEDs there, especially with that tire over there. We're gonna overlook that, and they might plan an IED in it now, and then blow us all up. So this time we went around the back of the city, so that way they don't try and blow us up at the same round. So the second time we go in, it's still a recon patrol. We don't have any suspected terrorists. Like there's nobody who tried to hurt us that time. So we have a baseline though. We know the markets should be bustling. We know that there's kids around. We know that there's like people and stuff. We know those two people are up in the mosque and stuff, and we know everything there. We know the elder, and we know what to expect. But we come through the back, and there's no one. We go to the market, and we're like, uh-oh, we see nobody. So we're like, okay, maybe it's a Sunday, or I don't know what the Sabbath day is for them, or whatever it is. But we go through the market, and there's a whole lot of nothing. And I'm like, oh Jesus. So we're all kind of freaked out by that. And we go through the market. We're trying to find people. We're trying to see if there's anything. And right when I was the second man in the 30-man column, so I was one of the point men for the right side. We take contact, and basically what that was an IED. It blew up, and it was literally they have a bunch of smoke. I mean they have a big old explosion with no shrapnel or anything go off underneath some tires that were next to a gas station. So it blew up a gas station. And instantly, my friend Webster, he always dies in any of these scenarios. He's always the first one to die. And he dies, all right? He blows up. He's right next to the gas station, of course. And he gets killed. We have two injured guys, so everybody starts dragging each other to cover. We all get to the corners of the streets, which we were already aware. Not the corners, but the sides of the streets. And we start going through the alleyways trying to find that motherfucker. So I hit the dirt, and I'm in the middle of the street, and then Zufal, who's my point man, he's like, hey, like, I'm gonna go into here, and like, he starts attracting people, and I'm like, okay, well, now it's my turn to be a point man, so I go down this alleyway, and I'm like, hey, like, somebody follow me. So I get a stack of people, and I go down this alleyway, and right when I go through that alleyway, I see a propane tank with a pressure plate. It was a board of wood that was connected to it, and it was pretty intense. So Uh, yeah, so I saw that, and I was like, hold up, hold up, hold up. And they're like, what? You're supposed to rush in there. Like whenever you go into an alleyway or go like if you take contact or whatever, you're not supposed to stop. But I saw a propane tank, so I'm like, no way. So I'm like, okay, let's not go there. And it was later told to me by the instructor that yes, that was an IED. That was good that you did not go down that alleyway. So sadly, down that alleyway there was a door to a room, and because that's what we're trying to find is just these rooms of the perpetrators that killed Webster. So through this little slit, we start taking rifle fire, and we're like, what? We had no idea where it was coming from. It was down that alleyway. If we had gone down there, we would have died. But there was a doorway where the perpetrator and the gunman was firing through a tiny slit, firing at the guy who was the two guys who were helping Webster out. So it was my team leader, Payne. He was getting shot at and stuff, and then we had some other guy trying to cover him. I think it was Rolla. So two of our best Marines in there were getting shot because they were helping Webster inside because they had dragged Webster to a garage uh, next to the gas station, and they were treating him and stuff. But what ended up happening was we had Zufall. He ended up taking that building, this like 3-story building, and he was like, "Hey, we got you covered. Like, try and go down that way and try and find that gunman." So we were literally going across underneath the slit where that gunman was firing. But we had no idea though, so we were going underneath that slit. Whenever he didn't see us, we went to the right side, and now we were gonna go and breach those doors and stuff. So we start clearing the rooms. I ended up clearing a room that nobody was in, but the other two guys in my stack, they ended up going in the building with the gunman, and they gun him down. They take his weapon away. They just toss it away from him in case he's just acting or whatever it is. I don't know if they double checked him or whatever you call that, like dead checked them, excuse me. But yeah, so they did that, and now it's our time to get out of there. So we took contact. This was just supposed to be a recon patrol. We don't have all the assets we would need for a full combat patrol. That's for next patrol. So we start gathering our stuff, and we get out of there. We're like, hey, we killed the gunman, and we start taking sniper fire from a mosque. And we actually went towards it. So while we were trying to get out of there, we were consolidating, figuring out what the problem is. We got Webster on our shoulders. We dropped the MREs, which we were bringing for the civilians that told us to come the next day, which is why we were all worried that they weren't there. And yeah, we started going towards the exit, and we started getting fired at. So we started running towards the building that the guy was firing at us from. We suppressed it and everything. I was in there in that stack that ran towards them, and we went up the stairs, and we were clearing these rooms. It was pretty intense. It was pretty cool. We had all these like it looked like what I would imagine Iraq to be like. It had a bunch of drapes. It had a bunch of it had a bed with like that cool design on it. Like they had all these cool things. But we were clearing those rooms trying to find the guy, and we ended up not finding him. So we just kind of went out of there. He kind of escaped into the civilian population, which was just kind of in the corners of the city and stuff. So we started walking out, and we went out of there. And yeah, I think that was it. That was about it. After the fact, what they do is they take us into this room where there's we didn't even know we were being recorded this entire time, but we all the people who were our instructors were recording us with POVs, and we had recording stuff on like light poles and stuff, and we were able to go into this room that was air conditioned and everything. We sit down, we have our flags on, we have our rifles with us, and it's kind of a weird scene. We sit down in this air conditioned room, and we have tables, and we're all just sitting there as a platoon, and we get to watch ourselves on the big screen react to the scenario. So we get to see what we did right, what we did wrong, how Webster died, like all these things. What you should have seen is that there's a pressure plate underneath or right next to the tires and stuff, which he stepped on and blew it up. Um, yeah, so it was pretty cool. They explained everything, and it was really good training for us, reacting to real life scenarios. So that's the IIT. If you ever have the chance to do that, if you join the Marine Corps, like it is a fun time. It's really really fun time. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll probably tell you more stories about the IIT in the future, but yeah, this is just one story from there. And if you enjoyed this, please let me know. Hopefully, this video went by fast because you were enjoying it, just hearing me talk and looking at the footage. But yeah, really just let me know now in the comments how you'd like me to change up this sort of storytelling from the Marine Corps. Uh, yeah, and that's about it, guys.